Right, so it's just not cricket, or just is cricket, or it's cricket just is cricket
Cricket,
with
not
me, Matthew.
ju- just it's.
Just, or it is just crick. What? It's me, Matthew, and again it's Jamie. Hello, Jamie. You all right?
You're right.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
So doing something a little bit different today in our third episode. It's time to refresh the podcast genre. Currently, as we're recording, it is the or second test match and a third session between England and West Indies going on at the moment. Could end in a draw, could be dramatic. Who's to say? You'll know the result by the time you've listened to it, but I think it's going to be... We're going to do a little live reaction, well, recorded live reaction to what's happening in the game when we get to that.
We apologise.
Because it's the most talked about game that's been happening maybe this week in cricket.
And that's saying something.
Yeah, but maybe not for the right reasons, but who's to say? So we're going to quickly just blitz through some cricket news, I think, just to start off with. First of all, I think very briefly, obviously Pakistan, Australia ended in a draw. Babar Azam got a massive daddy 100 at the end. But I think they mounted up about kind of 450 plus in their fourth innings of a game, which was nonsense, but somehow 149 all out in their first innings, maybe just to make a game of it. Don't really have much to say on that one. I think it's a similar story to what we said last week, but that's still 0-0 going into the third test. Any thoughts on that test?
Now, well, somehow Pakistan made it interesting. They put a decent
as Pakistan
run.
normally do, yeah.
Yeah, and then from basically nowhere, I think Lyon got 2 wickets in 2 balls, and then made it interesting the other way.
Yeah.
It went from Pakistan maybe possibly winning to Australia maybe possibly winning to just a draw again.
It could have been one of the great last days, didn't it? But I just think there was a chance with like Rizwan and Baba when they were batting really well that they could really potentially pushed on a bit, and maybe put the pressure on to actually chase 500 to win, which would have been quite something. But we didn't get to that, which is fine. I guess you don't want to throw away the risk after you've batted so long, but at the same time, that series just kind of needed something. But
it's kind of odd as well because Rizwan did kind of accelerate after Baba got out, so
he got to his 100, yeah. So
yeah, and I'm not sure why he went quicker when the draw was more likely.
Yeah,
but who's to say? This week with cricket and draws, my head is just
it's a lot of batting, a lot of people just having a stick.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of nets. So that was a draw. So I think the third test is this Friday. What a dream. Maybe it won't be 0-0 after 3 games. That's great. What a great test series that would be to return Australia to Pakistan. It's 0-0 3 series draw. Great. Can
we call it 3-3 just to make it more interesting?
Yeah, just to give it some. But no, yeah, we'll look forward to when that's a 2-day test match next time. That'd be great. Sri Lanka got rolled over again by India. So that's what is to be expected. I think they didn't quite last 3 days again. But on the grapevine of that's when Silverwood's going to step in and potentially be coach of Sri Lanka. That was some breaking news today. Obviously, Chris Silverwood, sacked by England after the atrocities of the Ashes, is now going to go to Sri Lanka's aid to be their head coach. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Well, seeing how Sri Lanka have done, they couldn't be getting a more apt coach for their situation.
He knows the situations very well.
He knows how to lose, Chris Silverwood. And I think, if you're going into a situation like that, you don't want anyone else.
For sure. That's the only person that you could possibly want, I reckon.
Don't do it, Sri Lanka. Don't do it.
I mean, they put up a little fight. By that mean, I think Kukaratne, who's the opener, got 100, but that's about it. Which is a shame.
They do have a decent young squad with some potential.
Maybe in time they'll come again. But the problem is we've been saying that they'll come again after like Sangakkara and Jayawardene and all these lot have retired, but that was about 10 years ago. And it's like, you can't just keep saying, oh, they lost a load of great players and a great generation of players. all those teams lose it. Australia lost it, but they still find bats who come back and score tons. England don't do that, so England's probably not a good example. But teams just have to go through that generational phase, and you can't keep going back being like, oh, it's great when Sangakkara was around or Jayawardene, because you've got to move on and you've got to try and find where the next talent's coming from. I know there's lots of other factors like franchising and T20 and stuff like that, and the state of Sri Lankan cricket, but if you can produce the likes of Jayawardene and Sangakkara in Sri Lanka, then there's going to be others out there, and hopefully they can come again, because you like to see Sri Lanka do well.
And hopefully they actually find a decent coach to move them in the right direction and don't go for the first person they can find.
Chrissy Silverwood, can't wait to see that. We've got at the moment currently going on. There's going to be a talked about ODI series currently at 1-1 between South Africa and Bangladesh. We talked about for the ages to come. Can you remember an ODI series that you can actually remember the scoreline of what actually happened?
Or of any team? Of any team.
Okay. What was the most recent ODI series that you can remember the result of?
Discounting South Africa and Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really obvious actually. Right, I've got some notes on it, so it's not that obvious, but it's stuck in my mind. Okay. So after 1,057 days, after 18 straight defeats, Papua New Guinea have won an ODI game, having beaten United Arab Emirates by 6 wickets.
And there we go. You're wrapped to that series.
I mean, I think that kind of game would stick in my mind more than just a random South Africa Bangladesh series, because it's two teams you're not familiar with. No. Like during the T20 World Cup sort of pre-qualifiers, Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
They were kind of a fun team to watch.
For sure, yeah.
So you've got that sort of mild fan base for them, if you can call it that.
Very mild.
But yeah, it's just a fun little game going on, and it's nice for them to have gotten a win after so long.
Yeah, and you've got to see these other teams actually have a game and actually have a stick, and actually, if they're not going to play, they're just always going to be like the minnows and underdogs, aren't they? So the more chances they get, then good on them. But I can't say I was following that game. But fair enough. But with this kind of Sri Lanka series, not Sri Lanka, what we're talking about, South Africa and Bangladesh. They've already forgotten the teams that were playing. I think it's the controversy is going to be around the test matches, because I mentioned to you earlier that a lot of the front-running players in that South Africa test team have now chosen to go to the IPL instead of playing those test matches against Bangladesh, which is just kind of a predicament of international cricket at the moment. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, for one, you've got to question the scheduling with the international bodies and the IPL and just the general national cricket boards. Can they not have like a certain period in the year set aside for certain tournaments so it doesn't clash with other forms of cricket? Because there's a lot of games that cricketers have to play just in a normal, non-COVID taken into account time. And the last IPL was a few months ago.
I know. It never ends, does it? It's always back. I mean, our fans are going to love us saying this, but I just think it's a parasite of cricket, isn't it? Because it always leeches away the players from the test teams for this IPL, which is the franchising. It's the probably the biggest cricket tournament in the world. Draws in so much like revenue and money, but guaranteed there's not going to be anyone who supports England or Australia, New Zealand, West Indies who's going to really give a flying monkeys about what's happening in the IPL or who won it last time, whatever. Like, it's sometimes fun, like if there's a moment between maybe Jofra Archer is bowling at Johnny Bairstow or something, you might have a look. That might be interesting, but there's no chance to really care. There's no, they're introducing about 2 new teams to this roster of the IPL this time around. I'll imagine if you're an Indian fan, India supporters to have all these, massive names and teams you can go and see is going to be phenomenal. But on a global scale, why should we care about the IPL? That's my controversial take for today.
And like it's the same for why would Indians or Australians or whoever care about the fucking 100, or
Yeah,
non-Australians care about the Big Bash, or the non-Indians care about the CPL.
But you can always guarantee, like, I know the Ashes was a complete write-off, but most cricket fans, casual or otherwise, would have a look at that, first game of the Ashes, what's happening in that, see, Burns get knocked over first ball, or they'd have a look at, India winning in Australia last year, those kind of big moments. But I just don't understand that. I can't get behind the hype. I don't understand the hype. I remember when it first came about and it was all just very silly all over the place and colourful pads and stuff, and now it's just rocketed into this massive juggernaut of money. But oh well, Mark Wood can't go because he's injured as well, which is devastating for Lucknow.
Good on you, Woody. Well done.
I wonder what they could possibly do.
But can you really blame the players for going?
Absolutely not. No, of course not.
Like, I don't think you can, but like, I still kind of lose a bit of respect for them choosing that. Like, if I can use an example close to my heart.
Go on.
Last season, Cheltenham Town won football's League Two title.
Sure.
And therefore earned promotion to League One. Yeah. In the summer between the end of winning League Two and starting League One, we sold our club captain, Ben Tozer, to Wrexham, who are 2 divisions lower in the conference.
Right.
Wrexham are the club that are owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney.
Oh, I see. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's dropped down like 2 levels to earn more money rather than play at a higher quality. And it's kind of a similar situation with Test cricket and IPL. Like, Test cricket will definitely be a higher quality. You'll be put through the rigours much more, but IPL, you get an extra few mil.
No, yeah, completely. Especially if you're coming from a team like South Africa at the moment, they're definitely going to earn more by going to play for a couple of weeks. Well, I say a couple of weeks, probably like 8 weeks in the IPL to earn a shed load of cash. Sometimes by not even playing, just sitting on the sidelines. And you get to play with some of the greatest players in the world, and full stadiums, as opposed to an empty stadium in South Africa potentially, between South Africa and Bangladesh. So you can understand it from a player's perspective, but that's mainly because of the way that Test cricket is being valued as a whole entity at the moment. I think definitely shown with the two series between England, West Indies, and Australia, Pakistan. If those are the games that you're supposedly giving up millions of dollars to play for, you can get it, you can understand, but it's just a testament to see where the game is at the moment, I think, and I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years' time, whether 50 over cricket will even be here. Will we have test matches between teams that aren't England, New Zealand, Australia and India?
Will we even measure games by overs, or just how many balls?
Yeah, goodness knows. So that's good food for thought. Finally, before we jump into just not cricket, and then we come back with more cricket, it's worth talking again about, I think, only at the moment, the only competitive cricket going on at the moment, which we said last week, which is the Women's World Cup, which continues to have thriller after thriller. So most notably last night, England women beat New Zealand women by 1 wicket. New Zealand scored 203, and then England won by 1 wicket, getting 204. Chasing that down, it was rain affected towards the end. They lost a cluster of wickets towards the end as well. Much drama. And that means that England now winning their last 2. They have probably more than an outside chance of qualifying again now. I think they've got India as one of their last games, I think. And potentially Bangladesh, who should pretty much roll over. So the current standings at the table, Australia have already qualified because, of course, they have. They've won 5 from 5. South Africa 4 from 4. West Indies doing well. They've won 3 from 5. They're sitting in 3rd. But then you've got India, England, and New Zealand all sitting on 4 points. but New Zealand have played one more game more, so they're probably out now. So if England win their next 2 games, probably going through. But then also India, if India can win, then it's going to be quite close. But yeah, it's been a great little tournament so far. I say little tournament, it's a World Cup, but South Africa won by 2 wickets the other day against New Zealand. West Indies won by 4 runs against Bangladesh. Bangladesh also beat Pakistan by 9 runs. South Africa beat England by 3 wickets. It's like every single game is going right down to the wire, and it's such a fantastic series to watch, really. Well, when you can watch it, because it's in New Zealand. Have you got any World Cup thoughts, Jamie?
It's nice to see that the whole competition is competitive between the majority of the teams. Like, I think last week you were saying how it's between Australia and India, and now it's looking as though India could easily drop out. And you're looking at, one of Windies, India, England, New Zealand to take 2 spots left, and like West Indies and New Zealand's net run rate is worse than England's and India's. So it's really wide open for that. And like South Africa are becoming kind of a dark horse of it. Like, you'd still say it's Australia's to lose, but
4 from 4. It's not an easy, especially with this tournament as well. They're smashing it, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if England don't get through to the semis, then bring on South Africa to win it now.
Yeah, for sure. I did get it wrong. England's last 2 games are against Pakistan and Bangladesh. And as mentioned, those are the teams at 7th and 8th at the moment. So they've got a real good chance to, beat those 2 teams and then probably qualify, because India have got Bangladesh. And then...
They've got South Africa, haven't they? India.
Yeah, and then South Africa, who are obviously flying high at the moment. So it is wide open. I mean, obviously, Australia have already qualified and that's all done.
New Zealand hosts as well, so
yeah,
you can't really take them out.
Yeah, no, suppose not. I mean, they have played that 1 extra game, so that game last night between England and New Zealand, probably the loser of that is most likely not going to get through unless something remarkable happens. But I think that with England winning last night, that does give them a bit of shred of hope. That was a kind of must-win game last night. If they had lost that would have been curtains.
And the way they won it as well kind of gives you a bit of momentum for the next game.
Yeah. So, just the real emotion and smashing throughout. I mean, a bit I managed to watch before I had to go to bed about around midnight was Kate Cross's spell, where she got 3 for 35. Completely turned the game wild on its head, because they'd started really well, 61 for none, and then slipped to 134 for 3 until 203 all out. So shout out to Kate Cross. And then Natsukiva got 61, which probably was the difference in the end. But yeah, it's a great tournament, honestly. From that first game when West Indies clinched that first one to now, it's great. It's just such a shame that it goes on right in the early hours of the morning. So it's kind of just waking up and seeing, have they scraped through or not?
Screw the men's game, just have the women's on.
Honestly, I mean, yeah. Because why would you watch the current Test matches over this? But we'll get to that. So yeah, let's do some quick predictions, because I think by the time we next record, it will be the qualifiers. Who are you banking on to get through? Obviously, Australia and South Africa.
I mean, I might not have said Australia. Australia, South Africa. I think India and England.
Yeah, I mean West Indies could easily lose last 2. Yeah, so it's definitely between West Indies, India, and England battling for those last 2 spots. It could come down to net run rate. I don't know how net run rate is calculated. I don't think I'm ever going to know.
It's one of those brilliant pieces of little quirks of cricket. It's in the laws of the game.
But what does it mean?
But no one knows how it works.
We'll not see that. So yeah, we'll be following that for sure. And yeah, go well, England women. Fingers crossed. So yeah, that's the main cricket news. Apologies if we've missed your favourite bit of cricket news from last week, but that's the main stuff that we've seen and covered and read about. So we're going to briefly jump into It's Just Not Cricket for all you non-cricket fans listening to the podcast. I'll take it away to Jamie.
I mean, who wants to talk about cricket anyway? We want to talk about this brilliant one-sheet Dungeons and Dragons RPG that I found from 2019.
Okay,
It was
interesting.
it was released by a bloke called Grant Howitt on Twitter, just like spur of the moment kind of thing, I think.
Okay.
And I can give you like 1,000 guesses, and I don't think you'd ever guess what it's called.
I don't think I'm ever going to guess what it's called. I would never. I was not anticipating a Dungeons and Dragons segment. So I will let you, without the drum roll, reveal what it was called.
Right, it's called Goat Crashes.
Goat crashes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the bio goes, you're a cheeky little goat and you want to party. Problem is, the only party being held is being held by humans who don't want goats to ruin it. But to hell with them. You're going to get inside by any means necessary and have the best time.
Of course, goat crashes.
It's brilliant. I was listening to a Dungeons and Dragons podcast and this came up and I was like, I need
to know.
to share this with cricket fans.
Yeah, of course. So, sorry, you said so. I think you just said, but you play as a goat,
Yeah.
or
You
and
play
you've
as a
got to get
goat.
into this, and
Yeah.
you want to get into this party where people don't like goats. Yep,
yeah.
I'm following, right?
That's right.
Okay,
So you can be like one of 6 types of goat.
sure. 6.
Yeah, 6. And I'm trying to send you the thing. Wait, one sec.
That's fine. I'm waiting on tenterhooks. I mean, I say I've not played a lot of D&D, but I've been part of a D&D campaign for the last two years where everyone plays the bard, which is pretty wild in itself. But I don't think.
Imagine if you had a goat bard.
Of course. Oh gosh, yes, you just loaded it up. My God, wow.
It's fantastic. It really is. But you can be one of 6 goats: pygmy, who are known for their smallness; fancy,
Yeah, of
who are
course.
charming; mountain, who can climb; big-horned, who fight; satanic for occultism; and fainting goats, who faint.
What's the point of being a fainting goat?
It's fun.
Like, okay. What's your favourite goat thing to do? Eating stuff or just tasting it? Headbutts, standing on top of the stuff, making a mockery of physical barriers, running around, bleating loudly. Incredible.
I mean, imagine being the
Absolutely
fainting
incredible.
goat and your favourite thing to do is headbutts. It's
My God, so I'm just going through some of the pictures at the bottom. There's a picture of a goat with a little hiding in a trench coat, which is good. One's got a lamp on his head, but there's also one hanging from the ceiling. What are they called when you beat the thing hanging? It's got all the sweets in it.
oh, the
What is it
piñata.
called? Pinata. So that's got dark so quickly. So this goat's going to pretend to be a pinata to get into this party. Christ, this is insane.
It is fantastic, though, isn't it?
It's. I'm reading the chaos bit because anyone who I've played Dungeons and Dragons with will know I love the chaos. So when you do something loud or disruptive,
The GM.
No, sorry,
Yeah,
the GM.
the GM, the goat master.
The No, this guy's not allowed. Sorry, so the GM, which is also a brand of cricket bat, in case you want to know, the GM adds a dice or two to the chaos pool to reflect the partygoers getting more suspicious about the encroaching goats. That's great. When the players do something sneaky, take a dice out and roll in the chaos pool. When a goat makes an action, GM can't go GM rolls the
Master.
pool and subtracts 6. Okay, once per session, each goat can party hard and access the power of chaos.
You
Oh
say-
my lord.
You say that as though it's ridiculous.
Party hard. The goats are ready to party hard.
Have you never seen a goat party hard?
Can't say I have.
Well,
Can't say I have.
you're really missing out.
Okay, what secretly... And then they've got all these different options. What secretly is going on at the party? They've crossed out alien plot to take control of the Earth and instead put tense mafia peace negotiations. Brackets, much funnier. And then you're just going to be a goat to try and get in.
You're not just a goat. You have to try and eat a cake or steal a goodie
Oh, of course.
bag.
Yeah, I can see here. What do you want to do? You have to eat cake. You have to drink a load of fizzy wine. Hobnob with rich and famous as a goat. Of course, that's going to be great.
Dance with an heiress, which
Oh God. Yeah, of course. This
it's
is incredible.
isn't it just
I was not
why
expecting this.
why do we even need to go back to England, West Indies? We should just do this.
Play a round of goat crashes.
Absolutely.
Shotgun GM. I love the intro as well. You're a cheeky little goat and you want to party. Problem is, the only parties being held by humans don't want goats to ruin it, but to hell with them, all in caps. You're going to get inside by any means necessary and have the best time. I'm 100%, I would absolutely love to play this. Massive shout out to the people who made this. I think Grant Howitt in 2019, smashing it. I would love to see this be played / play this.
It's
incredible.
It's literally the best thing I've come across this year.
I'm absolutely making note of that. I'll 100% play that. But yeah, that's a great find. Well done.
Thank you.
For all our Dungeons and Dragons listeners, which I know there are a few. So if you want to play, get some Just Not Crick fans together, we'll play Goat Crashers.
And not just our Dungeons and Dragons fans, our goat fans as well.
Which I know there are a few. Incredible. I love that. And I also love that this feature is so varied. We come from the Batman in week 1. We talk about football in week 2. And now we're talking about goat crashing in Dungeons and Dragons this week. I think it's fantastic.
The funny thing is, this was the only one of those 3 that I'd planned from before
Incredible.
week 1. I was definitely going to do this one at some point.
I love that this has got to be done. This has to be talked about. This can't be...
Absolutely.
this can't be avoided.
And I'm kind of sad I can't bring it up again. Maybe I will.
Or maybe we'll play a version. Maybe we'll play a game of it at one point, and then one of our episodes can be about how it went and who did crash the goat party that well.
Maybe the party itself can be like a cricket match, and we have to one goat has to get on to bat an over or something.
I love that. Incredible. But that's amazing. Thank you for sharing Goat Crashes. I'm absolutely going to share that with everyone I know.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. So from 1 GM to... No, they're not batting with GM bats. We're going to go live to West Indies v England in Barbados, where I've just seen Craig Brathwaite hit a 4. Maybe to move on to 50. Yeah, moves on to 53 of 157 balls. Probably takes his count in this game to over about 700, 800 balls, I think. I've got a stat just to kick things off with, which, stats, as Rob Keyes says, stats are for prats, and you can probably see them in many different ways. But we love a stat attack here. So in Brathwaite got 150 in the first innings in this game of runs galore. England scored 500. West Indies got 400. We've set West Indies 270 odd to win. They're currently 122 for 5. Probably most likely going to be a draw. But in Brathwaite, when he got 150 in that first innings, there are 377 dot balls, which was more than the entire number of deliveries faced by 6 England top 6 batsmen in the Ashes. Isn't that fun?
In total?
In total, yeah.
Oh my god.
It does. I mean, the stat is it says by 6 England top 6 batsmen, so it could be different 6. They might not have played every game, but I think that's still a wild stat, isn't it?
I mean, that's still... I would assume that still counts Ben Stokes, who did play every game. That's mental. We were so shit in the Ashes.
Yeah, lest we forget. What a great time that was. What a great winter. That was so much time spent watching that. That was great. I love that. What a great Christmas cheer. So we've obviously alluded to it already on the podcast a bit about how damning this is for Test cricket, this series. Obviously, I mean, there's the argument that everyone was singing the praises of kind of Root and Stokes when they scored those hundreds, and England got 500 in the first innings, but then maybe people were saying it was more flat than well played Brathwaite in West Indies innings. I've got a few issues with that because Brathwaite played brilliantly, and that's the determination and time to and patience to bat out that long is incredible. But also the pitch shouldn't be this flat on days 3, 4, and 5. It should be giving you something. You should be more worried about the state of the game and maybe the reasons why they're preparing such flat wickets for revenue rather than cricket. As Leach bowls probably his 600th over in this game. What are your overall thoughts about this run fest?
One of the most annoying things about Test cricket for me, if not the most annoying, is that when one team posts a somewhat unassailable score like England did in the first innings, the team coming into bat next, their first thought is, we can't lose this, or a draw is the best we can get out of it.
Yeah.
And like still give credit to Brathwaite and Blackwood, who scored 100 as well.
Yeah.
Like, fair play to them. You played well, but at no point in the West Indies innings was I thinking that they were batting to try and force a result. And it's difficult for them to do, chasing 500. But you've still got to find a tactic, a game plan to try and win. And counter to that, if you're England and you get West Indies out towards the end of day 4, you've got a slim chance of forcing a result, but you've got a chance. So you can bring in white ball batters like Bairstow, you can bring in Stokes to open the batting. At the very least, you tell Crawley to bat with one of those two and just go hard and try and force a result. Because these 5 wickets have come in a fairly short span of time. So if England had gone harder instead of playing a fucking Craig Brathwaite clone in Alex Lees, it could have been a completely different game. These 5 wickets could have come earlier in the day and they could have had longer to take the last 5. But neither team has taken any initiative to try and win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think they were ever planning to, and it completely blows my mind that professional sportsmen aren't thinking how they can win a match.
Yeah, I mean, what I felt about it was the last week when we had a very similar situation. I think Root declared just before lunch to give them about 20 minutes before lunch, which I think was pretty good. We talked about it last time. I think it's quite a good declaration. In that sense, I felt that they wanted to try and push for a win today. Obviously, I know there's rain around and stuff, as De Silva hits one away for 4. But they declared over lunch, so they didn't lose the 2 overs for the change of innings. But if they'd declared, half an hour before lunch, you get another 15 minutes because, West Indies are never going to be chasing down anything over 200 in this game. They're going to be batting out for the draw, whatever. They don't want to risk going for it and then suddenly get all out after Brathwaite batting for ages first time round. It's just, and I felt declaring over lunch and definitely the lack of initiative last night. Because you don't even have to necessarily open with like Stokes and Bairstow, but even with Lees, just to see a bit more, be a bit more proactive. I know I'm not a test. I can't ever be a test cricketer in my life, but just even try and be looking to try and get runs and just keep rotating the strike. Try and get up to about 80 last night. So then you've already got a platform where you potentially only have to bat an hour this morning, and then you get a bit more time in the morning session. But I think everyone's just been resigned with the pitch on this game, that it's not going to do anything. And I think obviously Saqib earlier bowled really well, but once that new ball's gone, that hardness is gone, it just becomes soft, it becomes a bit placid, and it's not going to be happening. And it's going to, unless something crazy happens, it's difficult to see anything other than 0-0 going to the third test like Pakistan, Australia. And I think it's just such a shame for test cricket. And again, I mentioned briefly, it's probably mostly been done because the Barbados Cricket Association, whatever they're called, they want 5 days test cricket because of the mass touring parties from England. They'll get the most money from that if it goes 5 days. It's just a shame. I mean, I saw a lot of people talking earlier in the cricket verse, talking about how the World Chess Championship should probably grade points and stuff. why not have home teams? I think the overall argument is that if you're playing away, you should get more points for a draw than if you were just playing at home and get a draw, if that makes sense. So, like, the home teams would then necessarily mean that they would have to create tracks that they can win on, because if they get a draw, then they're going to get less points than the opposition. Because obviously it's going to be harder to try and win overseas. I mean, it probably could lead to one-day test matches in India and massive green seamers in England. But then you're valuing the draw more for an away team, and obviously the home team wouldn't want that. And sure, that makes it a bit more competitive, because otherwise you're just getting games like this where West Indies, the cricket board, well, I think West Indies and cricket board wanted quicker pitches, but I think it's the grounds that haven't wanted that. You're getting revenue winning over cricket, and it's just a shame, isn't it? Especially for all the touring party for West Indies cricket, just everyone involved. I think it's just a shame overall.
I mean, it would be perfect if they decided to just shake hands now and end it before all the overs that are required to be bowled are bowled.
It would be nice.
Yeah, I think the issue I have with that grading system to make away the draws more appealing to away sides is a draw shouldn't be appealing.
No,
the away side
should
still be winning. So the pitches should be made with the idea that there's going to be a result within 5 days, and if whoever gets that win, good on them. And that's what is lacking from Test cricket at the minute, unless you're in India playing Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I mean, there's not been probably a closely contested Test series since maybe India, Australia last winter. Like, Australia pitches, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be fast, bouncy. Most likelihood you're going to get results in those pitches. England's the same. But I think South Africa personally, I think is the best place to play cricket or watch cricket. It's always played at such like a quick tempo. There's something in it for everyone. I think it's such a great place to watch cricket. And I think it's usually quite even in South Africa as well. Whilst places like Australia and India are probably more tailored towards those kind of sides, but you got places like West Indies and New Zealand and Pakistan, where time and time again they just produce these roads to bat on, and it's just who wants to go to watch that? And it's just it's just we always lord over that Test cricket is the greatest form of the game, and when you have games like this, it's very difficult to try to explain to someone why you think that. And that's why IPL keeps going back. Yeah.
No wonder some South African players want to go play IPL.
Exactly, yeah. So that goes back to earlier. Why would you want to play in a series like this? I mean, you probably do, because then you get some friggin' you probably get 100, won't you? So that's probably the reason. Are there any positives from this game?
I mean, a few players got 100. I mean, Crawley got 100. No, was it Crawley? Was that last game?
So Crawley got 100 in the first. Crawley got 100 in the first game, as did Root and Bairstow.
It's all blurring into one.
Yeah, it's one 10-day game, isn't it?
Yeah, like, who would you even say is man of the match for this game?
I have to go with Mahmood. He's the only bowler, I think, who's ran in and actually made stuff happen. Why give it to someone like Brathwaite or Stoke? I mean, with Stokes' innings, at least there was impetus in Stokes' innings. Like, he wanted to try and get the game to a position where, they could try and force a result. Brathwaite and Blackwood were for one reason only, which was draw the game, which is fine if they really felt that they could not win in this game. And, I don't think any team can win on this game with the pitch. That's fine. They played good innings, but you got 500 plays 400. The only reason England was 6 down in the second innings is because they went for it a bit later. But, I think you got to give it to a bowler, and I think Mahmood's bowled really well. But maybe Leach. Leach has got 6 wickets in the game. He bowled friggin' 70 overs in that first innings.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Stokes because of his quick 100, and he's got a few wickets as well. So I think he'll probably get it for the combined.
Yeah, and probably with Brathwaite as well, because he's got 200 odd runs in the game, hasn't he? So probably would go Brathwaite. But I think in pitches like this, you have to reward bowlers more. If the bowler's able to get anything out of this, you got to say GG's. Leach getting 6 wickets in this game is going to do him the world of confidence going forward for sure. On a pitch that's not really offered anything as well, to be honest.
It is strange.
I think Leach is the big tick in this game.
Yeah, it is strange because a few of the bowlers have been bowling really light. Like you said, Leach has been getting some spin with it. Mahmood's been getting movement. I think Fisher's bowled decently. Permal, he's been doing all right for Windies as well.
Yeah.
It's not been... The bowlers have been doing all right. It's just a small handful of them are.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say the others are struggling. It's just they're not getting anything out of it. They just can't.
Obviously, we've got... Sorry, go on.
I said maybe one or two opening England bowlers are a bit of a has-been now, but
yeah,
who knows?
I think, I mean, that's the top. I think that will be the main breaches topic on this game. Is this potentially, certainly away, would this potentially be Wokes' last game? Because you go back to what Strauss said, that it's an opportunity for guys to get new leadership responsibilities in the game without Broad and Anderson, and really develop their game. But when you're looking at a 33-year-old who's not by any stretch of imagination played little away from home, he's played a lot away from home and has never performed. What are you learning from him in this series that you didn't already know? I mean, I'd love the conspiracy theory that Strauss knew this would happen, and that means that they can ditch Wokes, and that's the main thing. Be like that. He knew this was going to happen. Here's the last hurrah. Off you, Mike. There you go. Point sealed and proven. That's it for Wokes. But
how can any of the bowlers that have been selected for this squad act as leaders in the bowling attack? Because they've had Jimmy and Broad leading them. Wood and Wokes are both experienced test bowlers by now, but you wouldn't call them leaders because they've been bowling under two leaders themselves. So they've not had any experience or chance to do that role. I miss Jofra.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, the good thing with Joffrey was bowling in the lunchtime interval, which is something.
That's nice.
He's on his way back. But even Joffrey, I don't think Joffrey would get that much out of the wickets. I think Broad and Anderson, from their experience of playing on these kind of wickets, probably would get something out of it. We played on a very similar wicket. I say we. England played on a very similar wicket in Sydney earlier in the year, where that was a draw, and Broad got 5 wickets in that. When a pitch really wasn't doing a lot, it was very slow, not a great deal of bounce. The great players make things happen, and Anderson wouldn't give a thing away. Probably would be more probing with that new ball, so you could potentially get West Indies 2 or 3 down early on, and then that brings Leach more into the game. And I think, it's again testament to the fact that it's not a good decision to leave them out. But I can't see Wokes and Overton really pushing for selection come summer, especially given how well Mahmood's done.
If Overton is selected for another squad, I can't deal with Overton being picked anymore.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yes,
for sure. He will be all right in a green seamer in England, but what else? I mean, another good thing I would say is Lawrence has been quite eye-catching in his series. Few important wickets. Runs a decent lick. Crawley's done pretty well. I guess the only concern is with those kind of techniques of Lawrence and Crawley, how well they'll do when it is moving around early May in England. But you've just got to come out and get the runs when you get them, really.
And, you'll get a few low scores when you're opening, so you'll get a bit of leeway with openers. So if Crawley gets some low scores, you've got to accept that for a while,
sure. Exactly.
at least.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who can score test hundreds. He's scored 2 now. One at opening, one at 3. Got a good 40 as well. This is a guy who can play 100%. Why would you get rid of a guy who can obviously have the technique to succeed at this level? People will harp back because he obviously only averaged 11 last year, which is no good. And that's not good enough. But he'll be the damn better player for having gone through that lean patch to come back from that, rather than just average 50 for the first 2 years and then fall from grace. To have it early on to learn, he'll be so much better for it. Just stick with Crawley, for sure.
I'm still holding out hopes for Hamid as well. Like, I know he didn't have a great Ashes, but his technique still looked really good down under. And
Yeah,
who
I
else,
mean,
who actually batted well in the Ashes?
well, that's a good point. But I mean, like, what Lee's in this series? I mean, what difference would Lee's have done, or Hamid have done, which would have been different to Lee's in this series? What difference would Sibley have done? They're
We've
all
gone
very similar players,
yeah, we've gone from Sibley to Sibley,
Yeah.
just from right hand to left hand.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no. I mean, it's fair enough. Give Lees a go. I think Hamid probably needed a bit of a break after the Ashes because the way he was batting at the end, it just felt like he was gone mentally, which is fine. He can have a break, no problem. I think the way that he was reselected in the first place, which is great. We love Hamid, but that was just classic Silverwood planning. That we've planned for this Ashes for 4 years. We're going to bring in Hamid with 2 games left of our English summer to then go open in the Ashes. It was just absolute carnage for him. Like, what can you expect him to do? Oh, Leach has just made one absolute spit off the surface there. Whoa. But yeah, he was on hiding to nothing. So he either had to score bulks of runs in the Ashes or he was going to get a breakaway from the team. I think it's a real tough ask for Hamid to come into the Ashes last year. And I hope he comes back again. Because I think he is, incredibly talented and he's gone through that rough spell. But I hope he comes back again for sure. I'm on Team Hamid as well, defo. Okay, Leach is coming in. Oh, it's a dot.
Only 3.1 overs left.
Oh, you're 2 balls ahead. What could possibly be happening?
We're only 3.3 overs away.
Hopefully, if we next do a listen, watch along kind of thing, stuff might happen. We'll wait and see. I mean, I think we can probably slowly start wrapping up because I can't see anything happening. I imagine they might shake hands in a minute.
I don't know. There's a lot that can happen from 3 overs.
Oh, that's true. Well, last little thing. At the end of last week, when we bowled right to the end, did you see Carlos? Was it Carlos Brathwaite?
Yeah,
I think it was.
So.
Who was annoyed that they bowled it right to the end. He said it was insulting to the West Indies, and that if England were playing in Australia or in India or something, they would have shaken hands earlier. What do you think about that?
There's no chance. If that was Australia bowling to England in an Ashes test, they'd have bowled right to the last ball. If anything, it's disrespectful to offer the handshake earlier.
Yeah.
I think Carlos just wanted Windies to get the draw and be done with that test.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, for sure. He's just trying to spark something out of nothing, wasn't he? Really. I mean, you're playing cricket to win. Like, especially West Indies have history of being a team that can just fold and fall apart. So why wouldn't you try and take it right to the last man? Makes no sense to me why you wouldn't.
Is this the same Carlos Brathwaite that's only played 2 or 3 test matches?
It's true, yeah. I mean, and he's also
so
a guy who's
got a wealth of knowledge.
Hit 4 sixes at the end of the World T20 off Stoke, so he took that right to the end. So he's the epitome of right to the very last end. You're gonna try and give it a go, yeah. Okay, so routes in 2.4 overs.
It's going nowhere when one of the last 3 overs is being bowled by Joe Root.
Yeah, getting a bit of turn out of the wicket though. Bit of spit. Glad it's doing something now on the end of day 5.
I mean, we've had to wait 4 days and 8 hours.
Yeah. Get one here, lads. One brings 2.
I mean, if we had 2 spinners, it could have been looking a lot more interesting.
So yeah, I think we'll finish on just selections for the next game, and then I think we'll call it a day because we're not going to get 5 wickets in 5 years, let alone 2 overs. So what changes would you make for the last test?
Robinson's fit again, so I think him in for Wokes is pretty sound. I don't want to see Overton ever again. I don't think the batting lineup's going to change at all. So
batting lineup says them. Yeah, that'll be absolutely the same. 1 to 7. That won't change.
I would love to see Parkinson come in and us play with two spinners, especially if it's another pitch like this. That isn't.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you can't. Yeah, you can't go in again with just, oh great, now to bring out a light meter. Wouldn't it be great if this game ends because of bad light? I would absolutely love that. I think that'd be fantastic. I think, yeah, I think you have to have Parkinson play. Because even if it's going to be a draw, at least then you get a chance for him to have a game. I don't think you should just give out test caps willy-nilly, but you look at how well Fisher and Mahmood have played in this game. You've got these new, fresh players. Give them a go, and a leg spinner makes stuff happen.
You've got a lot of right-handed West Indies batsmen throughout their lineup as well. You've got a left arm off spinner, right arm leg spinner.
Yeah, give it a go. Just give it a go. Why not? So I would bring in Parkinson for probably Fisher, and then Robinson for Wokes, I reckon. So then you can have Robinson and Mahmood with the new ball. Then you got obviously Stokes as well. You got the two spinners. I think probably it gives you a little bit more. And Robinson's score runs on these wickets. It's not like you're missing anything with Wokes not being in the game. But it won't do that. Robinson will come in. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say. I've got 1.4 overs remaining. I can't see them getting any more wickets in this game. So do you want to call it a day?
I would love to call it a day.
And hopefully they call it a day in a test match. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening, as per usual. Leave a like, smash like, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next time, hopefully with some exciting test cricket, though we can't count on that. I don't think test matches wickets are made like that anymore, but we will see. We might be surprised. Jamie, any last words from you?
Go play Goat Crashes.
Yes, go play Goat Crashes. Go find your local GM and go play some Goat Crashing.
Be a goat.
Goat.